Imagine, for a second, two totally different searches happening centuries apart.
Okay.
On one hand, you've got this young guy in the hill country. He's probably sweating, frustrated, hiking for miles, and he's just looking for some lost farm animals.
A classic wild goose chase, or well, I guess for today, a wild donkey chase.
Exactly. And then on the other side of history, you have a teacher walking by the sea, and he's looking for something, well, something much harder to find.
A human heart.
A human heart that's actually ready to change.
That is a striking juxtaposition. You have this gritty, mundane search for livestock versus this divine search for a soul.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today is January 17th, 2026, which is the memorial of St. Anthony Abbot. We are looking at a really specific set of texts today, Lectionary 310, and a devotional that kind of pulls it all together.
And it really seems like everything is orbiting this one massive theme.
The idea of a calling.
Right. But not the Hollywood version. Not the, clouds parting, music swelling, booming voice from the heavens kind of calling.
No. We're looking at the messy version.
Specifically, how a calling almost never looks like what we expect. It doesn't happen when we're sitting around waiting for it. The pattern here in these texts is that a calling usually shows up as an interruption.
A huge inconvenient interruption. And we have quite the lineup today to prove it. We've got a story from 1 Samuel about the very first king of Israel.
Then there's a celebratory psalm, which kind of acts like a coronation anthem.
And a gospel account from Mark about a very controversial dinner party.
And then a modern reflection that ties it all together with this idea of mercy. So our mission is to unpack how these texts see vocation.
And it seems like whether you are wealthy and handsome or a total social outcast, the mechanism is the same. God interrupts your reality to give you a new one.
Let's start with the wealthy and handsome part then.
Yes, let's. Because honestly, the description of our first character, Saul, it reads like a casting call for a superhero movie. This is from 1 Samuel chapters 9 and 10.
It really does. I mean, the text goes way out of its way to establish his pedigree before he even does anything.
He's not just some random guy. He's the son of Kish, who is described as a stalwart man of Benjamin. But then it keeps going. We get the whole family tree.
Son of Abiel, son of Zerah, son of Bechorath, son of Aphiah.
Right. Why do we need 5 generations of names for a story that's about to be about lost donkeys?
Because that lineage is a signal.
Right.
In the ancient world, it carries immense weight. It tells you immediately this young man comes from stock that matters. It establishes his social credibility.
Okay, so it sets the stakes.
Totally. If you're going to introduce a king, you start with the bloodline.
And then there's the physical description, which I love because it's so blunt. It says he was a handsome young man, and just in case we didn't get it, it adds, there was no other child of Israel more handsome than Saul.
And imposing, too.
Right. He stood head and shoulders above the people. So you've got this guy who is tall, incredibly good-looking, from a wealthy, important family. He is like the definition of most likely to succeed.
But notice the contrast. You have this perfect specimen of leadership, and what's he actually doing when we first meet him?
He's not leading an army.
Not debating policy in a council meeting.
He's looking for lost donkeys.
It's just such a mundane, almost funny, inciting incident. The asses of Saul's father, Kish, had wandered off.
It's the ancient equivalent of your dad telling you to find the car keys. They could be anywhere in the entire county.
And this isn't a quick trip. The geography here really matters. The text traces this very specific winding path to show you just how exhausted they are. They go through the hill country of Ephraim.
Find nothing.
Then through the land of Shalisha.
Still nothing.
So they keep going. Land of Shalim, land of Benjamin. It represents days of just walking and climbing and getting more and more frustrated.
We can all relate to that feeling, right? You're putting in all this work, checking all the boxes, and you have absolutely nothing to show for it but tired feet. It feels like a total waste of time.
And that is exactly the pivot point. This failure, this inability to do this simple, boring task is what puts Saul right where he needs to be.
He hits a wall, and so they decide to ask for help.
Enter Samuel.
Now, the text calls him a seer. Is that different from a prophet?
It's a slightly older term, but yeah, it's basically the same idea. A seer was someone who could see things that were hidden, like where a bunch of lost dumplings might be.
Right.
But Samuel's operating at a completely different level here.
Yeah.
Because God has already been talking to him. The Lord told Samuel, this is the man. He is to govern my people.
And I love the scene at the gateway. It's almost a comedy. Saul just walks up. He's probably dusty and tired and asks, excuse me, where does the seer live?
He has no idea who he's talking to.
None. He's just a guy asking for directions. And Samuel reveals himself, but immediately pivots to hospitality. He invites Saul to the high place to eat.
And then he drops this little hint. He says, in the morning, I will tell you whatever you wish.
Imagine going from, where are my donkeys, to, I will tell you whatever you wish. That's a serious upgrade in conversation.
It is. But the climax, of course, is the ritual. Samuel takes a flask of oil.
This is the moment.
He pours it on Saul's head, and he kisses him. This is the anointing. This is the moment a farm boy becomes a monarch.
And the mandate he gives him is, it's huge. The Lord anoints you commander over his heritage.
And look at the specific duties. To govern, yes, but also to save them from the grasp of their enemies.
It's a massive shift. He went out to save his father's donkeys and came back with a commission to save an entire nation.
Precisely. And here's the takeaway. If he hadn't lost the donkeys, he never would have found the kingdom.
The interruption was the vehicle?
The interruption was the vocation. If those donkeys had stayed in the barn, Saul stays a farm boy.
Wow. That's a great way to put it. The thing that went wrong was actually the thing that went right. Okay, so before we jump to the New Testament, we have to look at the psalm that's paired with this, Psalm 21.
Right. So 1 Samuel gives us the gritty, dusty narrative of how a king gets made. Psalm 21 gives us the theological ideal of what a king is.
It feels like a job description written as poetry.
Exactly. It's a coronation anthem. It's full of all this majestic imagery. A crown of pure gold, majesty and splendor. It's the finished product.
But what really stands out is the relationship it describes. It's not just about power. It's about this dynamic between the king and God. It feels very personal.
It's deeply personal. Look at the exchange. The king asks for life, and God gives him length of days forever and ever. It implies this complete reliance. The king isn't self-made. He's God-sustained.
And the emotion in it is so. It's not this heavy stoic burden. It says, you gladden him with the joy of your face.
That phrase, the joy of your face, is so beautiful. It implies real intimacy. This text says the ideal king finds his ultimate happiness in God's presence. Yeah. It sets a very, very high bar for Saul.
A high bar is right. He's gone from chasing donkeys to being expected to live in the joy of God's face. That's a steep learning curve.
It's a total identity transformation.
Okay, let's fast forward about 1,000 years. We're moving from the hill country to the seaside in Mark chapter 2.
And the scene changes dramatically. We're not dealing with royalty and stalwart men anymore. The whole atmosphere is different.
No, we're dealing with Levi.
Levi, son of Alphaeus.
Okay, so let's unpack this contrast. Saul was head and shoulders above the people, the poster boy. What do we know about Levi?
Well, the first thing is he's sitting. He's static. He's sitting at the customs post.
The customs post. So he's a tax collector. And I think we hear that term and we just think like IRS agent. But it was so much worse than that, wasn't it?
Oh, much worse. In this context, Judea is under Roman occupation. So a Jewish tax collector was a collaborator.
A traitor.
A traitor. They were collecting money from their own people to give to the pagan oppressors and usually skimming a fat profit off the top for themselves. They were despised.
So if Saul was most likely to succeed, Levi is. He's the outcast, the one nobody wants to sit with.
He's the excluded one.
Exactly.
And yet, here comes Jesus teaching by the sea. He passes by, sees Levi sitting there, and just like with Saul, there's an interruption.
But look how simple it is. There's no long journey, no searching. Jesus just says 2 words.
Follow me.
It's so stark. And Levi's reaction.
Immediate. And he got up and followed him.
Just like that. He just leaves the money, leaves the posts, the Roman protection, all of it.
Just like that. It's a radical break. And what's so interesting is where they go next.
Yeah.
They don't go to a temple to get him purified.
No, they go to Levi's house for dinner.
A dinner that causes a huge scandal. The text says, many tax collectors and sinners sat with Jesus and his disciples.
I can just imagine the scene. This is not a quiet, polite religious gathering. This is a room full of outcasts. It's probably loud. It's a rowdy table.
And that's exactly what triggers the conflict. The antagonists show up, the scribes and Pharisees. They see this and they are horrified. They ask, why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?
It's a boundary question for them, right? A holy man should stay separate from those people.
Exactly. They operate on a model of exclusion. Purity is maintained by staying away from impurity. If you eat with a sinner, you become tainted.
But Jesus just flips that logic completely on its head.
Totally. This is where we get that famous line. He hears them and says, those who are well do not need a physician, but the sick do.
It's such a brilliant metaphor. A doctor doesn't avoid sick people to stay healthy. A doctor goes to sick people to make them healthy.
He's saying his holiness is contagious, not their sin.
Wow. And then he drops the mission statement,
I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners.
which connects us right back to that Alleluia verse we saw from Luke about bringing glad tidings to the poor and liberty to captives.
Levi was a captive to his greed, his social isolation, and Jesus just walked into his customs booth and proclaimed liberty.
So you have these two stories. Saul, the handsome prince looking for donkeys. Levi, the despised tax collector, just trying to get paid. Both are interrupted. Both are called.
And if we look at that devotional source, the call of mercy and the healing heart, it just synthesizes this so well. It quotes Psalm 103, as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion.
And the reflection points out that this mercy specifically targets those who feel unworthy or excluded.
And think about that. Saul, for all his looks, felt unworthy. He basically said, whoa, me. I'm just a guy from a small tribe looking for donkeys. He wasn't looking for a crown.
And Levi was completely excluded by society.
So the calling isn't about looking the part. It's not about having the right resume.
No, the source says Jesus came not for the righteous, but for those who recognize their need for healing.
Which includes the guy who thinks he's just a farmhand and the guy who thinks he's a traitor.
The devotional ends with a question to do something. It asks, who is someone I may be judging or overlooking today? And how can I show them mercy?
That's a tough one. Because the Pharisees were absolutely judging Levi. They were overlooking him because of his label. But, we might overlook a Saul too. Thinking, oh, he's just some rich kid. What does he know about struggle? We miss the potential because we're so focused on the circumstances.
It's the lost donkeys problem all over again. We see the donkeys, God sees the king, we see the tax booth.
God sees the apostle. That's the core of it. Vocation is an act of vision. Samuel saw something in Saul that Saul couldn't see in himself. Jesus saw something in Levi that nobody else could see.
And that vision is fueled by a proactive mercy, a mercy that goes hunting.
Just like Saul was sent to hunt for animals, God's mercy hunts for us.
I love that. And the result in both cases is transformation. Saul is anointed, Levi becomes a disciple. The interruption creates a new identity.
It really makes you look at your own interruptions differently.
It does. So we've gone from the dusty trails of Ephraim all the way to a controversial dinner party by the sea.
A journey from where are my animals to follow me.
And the takeaway seems to be that the call isn't for people who have it all together. In fact, if you think you have it all together, if you're the righteous who doesn't need a physician, you might be the one who misses it.
That's the danger. Thinking you're well can be a blinder. Recognizing your lostness is the prerequisite for being found.
So before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. We talked a lot about Saul's lost donkeys. It was an annoyance, a failure, a total waste of his time.
Or so we thought.
Exactly. So here's the thought for you. What are the lost donkeys in your life right now? What's the thing that's going wrong, the project that's failing, the interruption that's driving you crazy?
We usually just try to fix those things as fast as possible, right? To get back to normal. We treat them like obstacles.
But what if that failure isn't a detour? What if that annoying interruption is actually the path, the mechanism that's leading you to your own high place? What if sometimes you have to lose the donkeys to find the kingdom?
It reframes the whole struggle.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.